Welcome, Center of Light. Welcome, Center of Light. Good to see you tonight. Tonight is a series I've been doing for a couple of years now, off and on, called The Cave, From Slave to Brave. It requires a brave individual, I tell you, to lose your individuality. How was the voice against the music? Good? Somebody give me everything's fine kind of thing. Just one person's fine. As I look out in social media, I see lots of trauma. Lots of trauma. The soul is wanting to emerge to the conscious frame of reference. In order for that to happen, trauma is going to be pushed out. The cave of samadhi. What is samadhi? Being in union with God, or at least wanting it so much so that you're willing to toss yourself into the fire, to acquire something higher and aspire to something beyond any of us can possibly imagine. It's coming. But also, what is coming with that is trauma. Daddy or mama, drama llama, trauma is going to reveal itself. Social media. Even though we're locked in, locked down, we like socializing. We're all socialites because we like being with others. Sometimes it can be difficult to be with others because of said trauma. But tonight is The Cave. Trauma Lama, going into the fire to burn out any such things that encumber, impede, stifle your direction that you're moving towards, which is inward, which is upward, which is forward, which is twaward. Are you a trauma lama? Go into the cave. There's a big difference between a gulf, ocean difference between reflecting and dwelling on the past. Reflecting is consciousness. Dwelling is unconsciousness. Well, Keith, if I think about all the hurts in my life, isn't that somehow putting the energy into it and creating it even more? It's not. Because the intention creates a vibratory difference. I want to heal. I'm dwelling. The energy wave is completely different, and your experience will be completely different. But if you want something completely different, welcome to the caves of samadhi. Let me tell you why monks go into a cave. Not for a weekend event. Not for a week. Not for a month. Not for a year. True yogis. We are yogis, all of us. Some of us just do it at a different pace. They go into caves forever. Not because they are running away from the world, it's because they're running to reality. They're running to the universe. You want to know what it is they're doing in those caves? All those years? They're forgiving themselves for everything. Takes years. And when they're done with that, they begin the process of years to forgive others for what has been done to the person by said others. And they are affecting the entire tapestry of the cosmos. And when they're done with that, they begin to work on forgiveness of what others did to others. Ho'oponopono. Then after that, they work on what others have done to others and others and others. They know that this is a gateway to the infinite appreciation, gratitude, and similitude to become one in the likeness of the Father or the Mother principle. The cave of Samadhi is to wanting to be with your divine parent so intensely it will begin to become apparent very immensely for all of us, anyone. Go on a spiritual retreat for a week and hunker in. When you come out, you will feel anew, reborn. Hello, Laura, Bob, Nori, KK, Heather, Rena. So tonight is the cave. From slave to brave. It'll take a brave soul to traverse the wilderness. But I do suggest you take your shoes off and you leave them at the cave entrance. And you leave your religion there as well. Because you're walking on sacred ground, you won't need your shoes. You bring your religion, no matter which one it is, as beautiful though it is. When you get to the most beautiful thing that supersedes, surpasses even religion, even though we think we have the right one, it all gets shattered by the light. And there you will find yourself in the presence of the Absolute One. And all those years of work you have done simply will be forgotten. Hello, Andrea. I know she's going to say, Keith, I love those drums. I found them today. Yay! Let's see what's happening. Let's check out you now. Alrighty. So tonight is the cave, from slave to brave. Trauma Lama. One thing I can tell you that is keeping all of us from higher planes of existence is trauma. Well, Keith, I feel pretty good. Fantastic. If we're not feeling blissful, trauma has wedged itself in there somewhere. Even in the form of believing or non-believing, trauma. It's traumatic. Some kids are dragged kicking and screaming to church. Trauma. Why don't they want to go? Because they're tired of hearing the hellfire damnation or whatever said religion believes in that kind of nonsense. It's abusive. And they were dragged kicking and screaming ongoingly. It's traumatic. Give me right back. Merch to perch. I'll see you in the backside of this support system. Thank you, Robert Harrison. Welcome, Center of Light. The cave. The cave. Yanava. Everything's backwards. Yanava. Tonight we're going to move into scary territory. If you want to do the work, I'm here to support you. Give yourself an experience. Hello, Kelly. Give yourself the opportunity to heal. I will. I know the deal. It's stopping all of us from getting to the place where we can absolutely feel the real. The real. It's the real. Like I said last night in the presentation, the calamities, all the nonsense in the world, the abuse of power in the system. Like Bruce Lee, we say. Like Neo, we say. We fix ourselves in such a way that we don't have to say this. Who we are is this. Means I'm ready for anything. I want my soul to become known to me. And if it takes whatever it takes, I'm ready. Such a way of being will create an amazing way of seeing things differently. But you will, my friend, have to time travel to the past. Even yesterday was the past. Even what may have happened today was the past. But at last, we all have the opportunity to do something about it. Time travel to the past. Well, how do I do that, Keith? Tesla didn't invent a machine. You are the time machine. What's inside of you is eternal. It can go in any direction at any moment and stay however long it chooses to. So, like I said earlier, the difference between reflecting and dwelling on the past is huge. You want out of your trauma? Yes, I do, Keith. Even the traumas you don't know you have? Yes, I do, Keith. So what do I do, Keith? You have to go into the trauma to get out of your trauma. Scary shit, isn't it? You have to go into your trauma to get out of it. In is always the way out. Who in their right frickin' mind would want to relive that stuff? This guy. Who in their right mind wants to travel back in time to begin to forgive those who did that stuff? Gotta be tough, full of gruff. You're gonna have to buff your spiritual muscles because it's gonna require you lifting weights. What weight? The weight you've been carrying on your shoulder for all those years. All those blood, sweat, and tears years, my dears. Trauma. Keith, I'm pretty good. Fantastic. Are you willing to explore the abyss, the caverns in the cave that have kept you from being brave and simply unmindful? We just follow along. We're a slave. Only to dig an early grave. So how do you save yourself? You go back to where the problem started. No one will ever excuse said offenders in your life. And no one is ever going, not this no one, this one is never going to trivialize your situation. But it's time we put on our big boy and big girl pants on. Pull up them britches, you spiritual sexy bitches. There's a whole lot of work to do. Inner work, inner play. Once you get over the threshold of it feeling like work, then you get to play because you're gonna love everything about healing and dealing with the trauma that has been gone unmonitored for all those years. Here we go. Participate. Someone around you Ask them to come sit on a pillow next to you and participate. Lift the weight that has been burdening your soul. Dear Lord. Let's time travel. Ready? Make it up for yourself right now. All right, I'm saying, let's time travel. And you see yourself in the DeLorean. Fantastic. Or you see yourself in meditation. Fantastic. Or you see yourself in a plane that can fly the speed of light in any direction. Fantastic. So whatever just pops into your consciousness, your imagination, free intuition for you, just use it. So you're sitting in this apparatus if you need one at all. Well, you are sitting in an apparatus. It's called your physical body. Possibly sitting in another apparatus, the car or the plane or the whatever. But you sit in your time machine. And I'm asking you, and feel free to divulge it if you like, share with the audience, the forum, if you want. Hello, Robin Harrison, my brother. But also, it's okay if you don't. But your participation may help others. And yourself. And me. So now that you're sitting in your craft, here we go. Start it up. So I want you to launch yourself to your first memory of being traumatized. Don't judge it. Don't pigeonhole on it. Just launch yourself there. You are the witness, the silent witness, as you sit in the cave of Samadhi with your intention for unity with God. Samadhi. Launch yourself from your time machine. Close your eyes if you need to. Go into meditation. I'll be silent for a few seconds. Go to the first traumatic experience you remember. Whatever that may be. Go. I'll start off. I was 2 or 3 years old. Back in those days, when smoking was the thing that you can do in your house because we wasn't evolved as we are now. Evolved as we are now. But I was 3 years old. And like many families, mine being from South Louisiana, they talk and they use their hands. So they're smoking and they're using their hands. And Keith is sitting right here, 3-year-old Keith is sitting right here, and I'm facing the other way doing what little 3-year-old boys do with the other 3-year-old cousins. And someone, when they're talking with their hands, burnt me with a cigarette. And my first thought was, ow! And they reached around and slapped me because I frightened them with my owl. They slapped me right across my face. Let me tell you how long that stuck with me. I did just bring it up, didn't I? I'm going on 58 years old. And I just brought it up again because it is my first memory of being traumatized. Did you recall for yourself a time in your experience back when, yesterday, if that's the first time, when is the first time you recall being traumatized? You don't have to say it. But as long as you know it, it's important that you do. And if you don't know about any of your traumas, it's important that you do go into it with the intent to find them under rocks, turn up rocks, look under leaves, look under a car, do whatever you need to do. I'm not asking you to go make up events. Your intent to seek and ye shall find. Find those things that are in your mind that are grinding on you, that'll stop you from being expanded, spiritual, beautiful mess. When I say mess, I mean when you get illuminated into the fire, people are going to think you're all messed up. But actually, you're spiritually dressed up and ready for the occasion, the party, the event horizon that spins, that there is no escape in the cave of Samadhi. If you did call up an experience that you remember, fantastic. Let me ask you this question. And this is one I think anyone can answer. What is the first trauma that you think a human being could ever experience? And I'm gonna let this ride for a second because I'm curious to see, hoping that someone actually answers. And not that I don't think you could. I'm just volleying with you, relating to you, having fun with you, playing with you. This beautiful interaction between ourselves. What is the first traumatic Majestic Project 1 nailed it. The first traumatic experience we all, no one, without exception, is birth. Well, Keith, birth is beautiful. Yeah, to the mother and father and everybody in the labor room. But you imagine being a pure light. There's no density there. And you shove through this vaginal passageway, the cosmic womb that looks like your mother. And the first thing that happens to the child, you ready for this? You want to talk about trauma? The primal trauma that many have not dealt with. That's why it's important to be a trauma Lama, to go in the caves of Samadhi to deal with the undealt things. Coming from the realm of absolute light, higher existence, into this dense world being pushed out, the first thing that happens is you cry because it's traumatic. And hear me when I tell you, if you don't cry and take that breath, they will smack you on the ass to make sure that you do just that. Wow, you just entered this world and all of a sudden there's an amazing sting on your backside. You're like, I don't like this world already. Trauma. So I would suggest, even for myself, that we go back to the beginning and look at trauma in and out, without a doubt, all around, all about. Undealt with trauma has brought disease, illnesses, conditions, poor relationship choices, poor relationships because of unconscious choices, lack of abundance. It's all a form of lack because trauma is in the way, stopping us from moving towards the actual way to be in the cave of Samadhi, conscious union with God, eternal bliss. I understand. No one wants to revisit those things that we chose to forget. Let me say that again. No one wants to remember those things that we chose to forget. Majestic says, but it's our struggles that make us thrive. Until we're tired of struggling. It is. Until we get to the level, the plateau where we have a choice to graduate college from the university and move out into the world and live our life. Likewise, we can go to the university, universal universe, college. And when we get to that level, cross the threshold, crossing the bridge to the soul, then we can choose to incarnate again. It will be traumatic, provided that you have done the work to clear said trauma. Then through your birth, everything will continually graduate, life after life after life after life, until we no longer need life after life after life, that we resolve our residuals of karma, and then we move into dharma, and then we simply choose on purpose and consciously. I just want to go back down to earth because I'm bored. I've been eternal for forever. I want to go have some fun. Trauma. The only way out of trauma is to go back into it. Scary shit, I know. There is no other way. Trauma, undealt with trauma, will bring about ongoing said thing. I was abused as a child. No one is ever going to excuse anyone's poor behavior, but it is your responsibility to clear it up. And if you don't, same abuse is coming. Same thing with relationship. Same thing with whatever. I don't trust, because when I poured my heart out to someone, I was kicked in the balls. I was chopped in the throat. I was punched in the solar plexus. Someone gouged my eyes out. If you don't want this to continue, go find that relationship where that son of a bitch cheated on you, or that bitch cheated on you. And you go make things even. And I don't mean get revenge. But Keith, you don't understand. Sure it is. It's been done to me, and I've done it myself. I understand both sides of the fence. But if you want to quench your thirst, one thing you must do first is go to the experience that hurt a whole hell of a lot, that you fell into a dark night of the soul. Why would I want to go back there? Because you have to. Do I really? No, you don't. But if you want peace, you have to. Go into meditation. Go on an internal spiritual journey for yourself for a month. I'm going to do this once a day. I'm going to go in meditation, and I'm going to find something that has been holding me back because of loss of relationship, be it in partnership or death, trauma, grief, sorrow, dark night of the soul. Many people think joy, bliss, ecstasy, and nirvana, and all these wonderful titles for spiritual qualities is phenomenal. They are. Sorrow, dark night of the soul, grief, unhappiness. These are equally as powerful and equally as spiritual, because often it's these things that become the step ladder that we move up, level up, reach in, forward, and toward. You have to die into the fire. So you go into the trauma with Keith, someone I cared about very deeply left, and it hurts. Goddamn right it hurts. I know how much it hurts. And the grieving process is a purposeful one until it becomes an addiction. And in such conviction, it continues the trauma. Go into the trauma. Become the trauma Lama. Get out of the drama Lama. It's going to hurt for a while. But if you have the fire, the vigor, the tenacity, the vibrancy to go deal with that thing your husband or wife did to you, or what that friend did to you. And like those monks I talked about earlier, when you go into the cave of samadhi of your own self, be it in a real cave, be it in your garden because you love flowers, whatever it is you do that gives you community with God, and you practice ho'oponopono, infinite forgiveness, you will step into the fire. You will step into the trauma and dissipate it because of your intentions to be in the fire that will dissipate it. I'm going to take a short song break. Before I do that, I want to say hello, everyone. Dolores, hi. She says, painful, but you will learn the values of the trauma if you're willing to go back through the fire. Walk into the fire barefoot. Burn your feet, the same feet that's on the holy ground, with the burning bush of Moshe, of Moses. You're going to have to walk into the fire. You might as well take your shoes off because your shoes are just going to incinerate anyway. Song break. How about from my upcoming new album? Let's see. The Dance of Kali and Shiva. This song is not really per se a song in a musical aspect. It's a movement. And we need to movement ourselves into the trauma. While this presentation is happening, as we hang out together, in the pauses, or even when you feel triggered by something I may say, or have the window that opens, that you can recall a trauma, bring it present. Bring it with you into this experience with me, and I will with you. And together we will do what we said we would do. We came here to Earth to become illumined to benefit the whole of humanity. Here's our opportunity, or at least one of them. Well, Keith, this happened to me when I was a child. Fantastic that you are recognizing that it happened to you versus stuffing at least that one down into oblivion. Bring it up and let it sit in your hand the whole night or in your lap. That way you can still scratch and have your water, but put it on your person, whatever said trauma. And if you think of 5 of them or 10 of them, bring them all and put them in a basket and sit it in your lap. And start playing with it. Start tasting them. Start smelling them. Start feeling them. Start moving them back, pull them around and move them around in the basket. Well, I like this one over here and I like this one over here. Whatever you need to do. Manipulate and play with it. Look at it. See it for what it is. It's in the past and it's not real. But it really did do a number on you. And that's what makes it real, still. The red pill or the blue pill. Sacred Dance of Kali and Shiva, the first piece off of my upcoming new album. Check it out. In the fire we go. Welcome back to Center of Light. Good to see you folks. Tonight we're speaking about trauma. Are you a trauma llama? Shama Lama Ding Dong is. Shama Lama Sing Song is. Cave of Samadhi. For those who are just joining, what is Samadhi? Monks go into a cave for the rest of their life. They're dedicated to becoming illumined by existing consciously in the divine fire. And one way to do that is to dissolve trauma, karma, and move it to dharma. How do you dissolve trauma? You go back in it. You see, your trauma is you as the child that is still wounded. Your trauma is the wounded child as you. You love it. You give it the attention it needs. It's a child. The child's been crying. The child has been spanked. The child has been injured or yanked into any direction for anything. The part of you that cried then because it was painful is still weeping inside. Your tears 30 minutes later that you've cried may have ended. But that child, for those 30 minutes, inside of all of us, is still weeping. So you take your child that you love infinitely and you look at it with compassion. Now is time to exit the cave of the perpetrator or the offender, because this is about you and God. And when you step into the fire of God, perpetrator doesn't exist. It's just you and God. That you get so close to God, there's no longer a you, it's just God, because you've melted into the fire. If you want such things as I do, will, have, am, you have to play the game according to the laws, not the rules. If you want to step into the arena of God, you have to play by the laws, not by the rules. Here you will find all the spiritual jewels and tools you need to ratchet up. Go back into your trauma. Love that child, that innocent child that was abused, used, and was confused, so much so that it carried it all the way to this present vantage point. Love the child. Pick up the child off the ground. Pick him up. Hug it, kiss it, and say, your parent loves you. It is my responsibility to see to it that you were protected, and I didn't, and I love you, and I apologize. And you caress the child, and you nurture the child. And you forgive the perpetrator when you do by caressing the child, nurturing the child. Because the pissed off child is always upset at the one who did said thing. So it's time to redirect focus. It's to be, instead of being upset at the one that did said thing, is to redirect the internal direction, the eternal direction, to the one who can change said thing and become the everything. Whether we like it or not, any childhood experience that we have experienced was designed for you to sit here today, right now, to reflect. You don't have to like it, but that's not a rule, it's a law. You might be a grandma or a grandpa, but it's a law. And when you get it, not only will you laugh, you will burst out loud, you will guffaw. Ha! Do you get it? Are you with it? Hello, Elaine. Hello, Abulita. Keith, again, I'm scared. Goddamn right you're scared. Who wants to get their ass spanked again? Who wants to have someone they love die again? Who wants whatever that causes trauma to show up again? I'm sorry, my friend. You're going to have to go back to the place that the seed and the weed was planted and has taken you for granted. The weeds have overcome you. It's overwhelmed you. even though life may be good for you right now, somehow it's still holding you back. We are holding ourselves back in lack from all that belongs to us. It's trauma. Any thought, this is to a finer level of what trauma is and how it can instill itself and plant itself into the subconscious. The first thing that happens is we're born to this world. We come from the light realms and we come into the meat suit and we feel all this pressure like we're being squashed. And we cry because we're born. And if we don't cry, they will slap us on our ass to make sure that we do. And then we move on to different levels of trauma as we grow up. But if you don't go back and revisit that place, you are constantly rebirthing yourself into the same karmic cycle. 7 years, every 7 years, you meet a new partner that looks like your last one. Hello, Joe. How do I get out of trauma? You don't. You will never get out of trauma. You get into trauma, and it simply just disappears. If you're scared, it's natural to use a word. It's not really natural, but it's automatic, it's understood that you would naturally fall into this disposition. It's never going to change until you brave the cave. And you don't get one of these. You don't get one of these. You don't bring a flashlight into the cave. You can't. Because that flashlight that you're trying to bring into the cave is religion. Well, religion is my torch. It's my torch. So I want to bring my torch with me so I can find my way. It doesn't work that way. Because even if you brought your religious torch to the presence of the absolution, it will disporphyriate, it will disintegrate. So, the metaphor, the analogy, the truth, the reality, is you go into the cave blind. So you can become one that, I was blind, but now I see amazing grace. Because even if you bring your religious flashlight into the cave of samadhi, the cave is still dark. So you have to become the divine torch to illuminate yourself, the reality in the cave. And then you will move out of slave and into brave. I understand the wilderness has lots of briars, pickers, stickers that'll get in your feet when you take your shoes off at the cave of samadhi. Take your shoes off. You're walking on sacred ground. It's your life. It's not only your life, it's your eternal existence. Going back to the majestic just said, let's all get naked, completely raw. That is exactly the point. That's the point. You're going to have to go inside yourself and peel this meat suit clothing open so that what is you, which is the light, or the you that is encumbered by the fear of birth, the first few fears you had in your life that set up the tone for the rest of your life, and you never found yourself coming into your own because you've always been held back by your trauma. How many people are scared to get naked? Seriously, I'm asking this in a serious way. Well, Keith, I'm not. Yes, you are. We're all scared to get naked. That's why we wear clothes every day. Now, when there is vulnerability about to go down, and you found someone you want to get jiggy with, suddenly, all of a sudden, you're okay with being naked. I ain't got no more trauma because the drive, the fire in your belly that comes up from the tailbone, that you simply want to get some action, overrides the faction of the trauma because it wants satisfaction with the daddy or the mama. But even so, in such intercourse or intercourse, as above, so below, on forever it will go, are we using these beautiful gifts as vices? But it is about getting naked. Because when you take your clothes off with someone that you just ready to get jiggy with, it's not a big deal. But some are not ready yet. They'll say, "Can you turn the light off?" And then they get naked. It's all applicable on every level. When we become so raw, raw, even including the mouth, when you let whatever flies out of your mouth, and I'm not talking about being obscene or obnoxious, I'm talking about you being yourself. And if the word fuck comes out, the word fuck comes out. I love the word. I think it's the most delicious, powerful fucking word that can fucking ever been fucking created. Why? Because everyone is afraid of it. I'm not loving it because I want to make people afraid or upset with me. I'm not that goddamn rebellious. It's a powerful word. It commands attention. And when used correctly, it will directly put you into alignment because I am commanding the stage right now to say how joyful I fucking am, or how upset I fucking am, or how whatever I am. Because the one word in the English language that has the most definitions is fuck. Keith, you're just being too... That's okay. This has nothing to do with upsetting you. It's traumatic. When people say said words, they take it as trauma. So we don't want to go around just belting out this vulgarity to cause trauma on people, but they're already traumatized as to why they hear such things. They go and they compress. It's just a word. It doesn't mean anything except the one that you have given it. We look at the word shit. We change the word shit to shot. S-H-I-T. But I'm going to feel better if you say S-H-O-T, which has the same meaning in the first place. Because if I say this person does shoddy work, you automatically go inside of yourself, what he's saying is this person does shitty work. So who are we jacking around here? So we have to be honest with ourselves and to look at why such said things bother us. And it's just a word. And then we're not talking about the experiences or the emotions that we had because of said experiences. Trauma. You go into a supermarket today because of said situation that we have been facing for the last 18 whatever months. Someone is not being compliant. When I say compliant, I don't mean compliant to the policy. I'm talking about being compliant to your policy of what you think should or should not happen. And when you leave the store, huffed, gruffed, puffed, you had trauma. Because when you get home, you can tell your dad or your mama, I went to Aldi's or Kroger to the grocery store today, and can you believe it? This person, it's trauma. What I was going to say earlier, if I didn't, I think I did. Any thought that you think that is not of the highest ideal contains self-sabotage, self-trauma. Any thought that you think that is not of the highest, I don't mean one of the highest or almost as high as it can get. Any thought that we think that is not the highest ideal to whatever degree contains self-sabotage. That's traumatic, even if we're the ones doing it to ourselves. You see, spiritual enlightenment does take a whole lot of work, a whole lot of play. So much so that you have to work on it to keep remembering to habitually and ritually do these practices I've been talking about through this presentation. Until it becomes like, what's that, 21 days? Then you don't think about it anymore. It becomes automatic pilot. But you think about those defaults that are not your faults, that's been with you since birth, the original traumatic entrance into the great stage of earth. What is it worth to you to move into the cave of samadhi? It's worth everything to me. It doesn't make me special, it just makes me hungry, horny, yearning for something, burning, churning, turning. We've all been doing the 3D experience for tens, if not hundreds of thousands of years. Elaine says, clearing distortions, because we are the light, and if we are the light, if something's distorting, trauma, Elaine says, clearing distortions around what is love and is not is a beautiful journey indeed, well worth experiencing. And we're all experiencing that journey, but what she's speaking about is when we become conscious of it, then it becomes honey on your tongue. Versus, I just have to eat this gruel because it's my life. It becomes nectar divine. Trauma. Whatever it is, that is your trauma. Go back. Time travel. Create a machine in your mind, in your imagination. And in the similitude of the Father, it will be so. A DeLorean, like Michael J. Fox, a car, a jet, meditation. Launch yourself to reflect on when you've been wounded and injured. And it is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. I think I've cleared all my traumas. Fantastic. Share with me how you did it. Send me whatever book, I will read it. I need it. But don't kid yourself. If you're not living in the fire of eternal bliss, something else could have been wedging itself in the way. I don't normally read from Homecoming Crossing the Bridge to the Soul when I do a cave, but I will read you this short excerpt about how to heal, not really deal, but how to heal and deal with trauma. Spirit speaks. It's powerful. As you endeavor to see and be my miracle, your miracle, you will come across many keys that fit many doors, but only one will release you from the emptiness you feel. And I ask, which one is it, knowing something's up? The one that opens the door leading to the void where miracles can happen. Because when people are in trauma, it is an abyss. It is a void, voided of the truth of themselves. The abyss is a void. And I say, which one is it? The one that opens the door leading to the void where miracles can happen. And I respond, but it's so scary to go there. And Spirit says, know that I do understand your reluctance to confront the abyss of your own demons, trauma. That being said, do it anyway, for I am here with you in places where you are not present within yourself, to give you what only I can, that feeling that everything is okay. All you need to do is let go and expand your awareness. Move into the cave of samadhi without your flashlight. Your spirituality becomes the light as you connect and forgive yourself and said perpetrators and offenders because of trauma. I am here with you in places you are not yet present within yourself, to give you only what I can. The feeling that everything is okay. All you need to do is let go and expand your awareness, your heart, until you recognize the sureness of that. And I say to Spirit or ask, will you walk with me right by your side, beloved? Spirit speaks to all of us Now close your eyes and think of something that is really troubling you. Just breathe in and out evenly for a few minutes to fall deeper into yourself. Take notice of any of those negative feelings that come up. Then, with your last exhale, release your troublesome thought to the universe and listen carefully. And Spirit says, do you hear it? And I say, hear what? The soft voice of the soul whispering its wisdom into your heart. And I say, I've been able to do this before when I've meditated on some other issues, but I can't seem to consciously make the connection on this one. Spirit says, then you must go even deeper to discover where your traumatic demon dwells. When you find it, it will probably look like a scared child cowering in the corner. But do not be fooled by its appearance and do not attempt to offer it pity, because it can and will take advantage of you. If you must use another intense visualization to yank that demon out of your subconscious, then offer it up to the light of consciousness and watch it melt like the vampires, basically, that have been sucking the life out of you. Melt like the vampires you have seen in the movies. When you begin to see through all of your illusions, the beauty that has always been there will humble you. The circle of life will then curve back within, and suddenly God will be present for you at a conscious level. Oh my God. So every time you heal trauma, you take a step close to becoming conscious of your divine parent. God is omniparent, so it actually becomes apparent to you of your unification with Spirit. When you begin to see through all of your illusions, the beauty that has always been there will humble you. The circle of life will then curve back within, and suddenly God will be present for you at a conscious level, increment by increment. So we've been talking about how to heal trauma, even if it happened yesterday. More so, longer in the past. So how do we plant ourselves so we're not affected by potential traumatic events that can happen tomorrow? Here's how. My dialogue with Spirit continuing. When something happens, I ask the question, what about future lessons? When something happens that you know could potentially be with you for a long time, this is very, very important. If something should arise in your life, don't get me wrong, you lose someone in your life in relationship or in death or whatever it may be, you lost a job, I get it. It's going to hit you in the guts. It hits me in my guts. Take your time, grieve for an hour, however long you feel you need, collect yourself, bring yourself back to present vantage point, and revisit said trauma. So realize that when something can transpire in your life that could potentially be with you for a long time, I suggest that you heed and heal it at the very moment it transpires. And of course, I say, please share with me how. While an issue is new, it is still potential energy. It has not yet become static. But if you let it fester, it will put down deep roots in an effort to mire you in its illusion. The longer it stays frozen, the tougher the thaw will be. I know that I've been telling you that everything is God, so you must be wondering how it is that terrible things can be God. What you perceive as terrible is not the reality of God, but an illusion created by you. What I am saying is that the mind can never open up enough to take the fire of God in. Bob Mason, that's for you and for me, but I want to share that with you. The mind can never open up enough to take God in, so you must open your heart in order to move out of any illusion and into my reality. When you were in a traumatic experience many years ago in your life, it was not an illusion. It was your reality then. Though it wasn't the ultimate reality then, It was the one that you were experiencing. But I tell you, on a universal level, it was not meant to hurt you. It was meant to expand you. Take this opportunity to jump into the fire. Move higher. There's something coming. The story that's being told is greater than we can imagine. We have to acquire it. We have to fashion it ourselves. If you're upset about the last person that cheated on you, okay, be upset. Go in the room, bring some big pillows, and punch your way through to liberation. Scream your way to liberation. The window is going to take a while before it completely tightens. But don't kid yourself, that tightening window is actually the same window that's expanding to infinity. So if we're seeing a window tighten, that means traumas are dealt with. But if we see the very same window that's in motion, widening itself beyond any ocean, you have corrected and balanced and righted yourself through what is no longer even called trauma. How will you know when you're out of trauma? That when you become the Lama, that you've shifted so far out of the drama, you no longer see what happened to you as trauma. You're just in the grace, the fire of grace going. In fact, you don't even remember it anymore. And if you do reflect on it, it's like, oh, what a beautiful time in my life that actually brought me life. And because of it, I feel alive. Trauma is there in a very different way of God to kiss you, to say that you are loved. But we have to choose to go love that child that is still deeply wounded, deep within ourselves. Pick it up off the ground. It's crying, for God's sake. People say that you have an infant, it'll cry itself to sleep. Really? That's causing trauma to the child. The child is crying out of whatever reasons. I don't mean because a child is hungry and it's crying, but because if you know the child is hungry and it's crying, then you go feed it. Same way, if the child is crying and you think it's just because it's cranky and can't sleep, you got to go feed it. You got to go feed it love because it's going through something traumatic as to why it's crying and saying, my parent, my human parent, but to the child, you are God. And you're not feeding it. It creates trauma. So you go in yourself and you give that wounded child your love and you pick it up and you kiss it on its face and you hug it dearly, sincerely. And you will know when you need to leave the cave of your childhood abuse. Elaine threw it out there. I was raped while living on the streets at the age of 14 by 4 men. I cried out to God and said, what do I do? I'm assuming she says God said, forgive. So I did in that moment. Forgive, love, and set yourself free. What an amazing testimonial. What else do we have? You can let things hold you back, or you can let those very things from your back time excel you forward and accelerate you forward. If I still let the trauma of my dark night of the soul all those years ago have its meat hooks in me and its vampire teeth in my neck, heck, I would not be the caring individual that I choose to be. Care about myself and the rest of my cosmic tribe. I care. And I dared to go back there. And I shared with myself something powerful. I needed it. It was my step ladder to another level. I would never change that experience, even if I could. That's holy fire. It went from holy hell to holy fire. Tonight has been the cave of Samadhi. Are you a trauma Lama? Are you ready to jump into hellfire? So that finally when you move through it, all trauma will be forgotten. Keith Anthony Blanchard here, Yanava. You are loved beyond measure. Your life is a treasure trove to everyone around you. But the more we convince, rather live that reality ourselves, the more we move into the absolute truth, which is, it's not just a scriptural passage anymore. I am the living scripture, and I'm moving through a rite of passage, which is, I am the living word. From soul to bones, I make my existence my own. Go visit those places that scare you to death. Brave the wilderness. It will take your breath away, but one day you will breathe in the eternal light of your divine parent, and it will become apparent to you that you've never left home. That's the importance of going into the cave, of wanting unity with your father, your mother, that which spawns everything in the universe, from then, here now, till when, forever. That's the direction I'm moving. If you have any bones, biscuits, nuggets, throw them to me. Invite me to lunch on your tab, and I will take a stab at whatever you offer me. Go visit your trauma. In is the way out, without a doubt. Peace, love, and light.